Hi everyone. I recently got a Shogi engine up and running inside a Shogi GUI, and I started using it to analyze my games. So I thought I would share the information with you about how to do that. So the user interface I'm using is called Shogidokoro. You can see the title up here, and the engine I was using is called Elmo. There's a couple other engines. There are actually many engines around, but that was one that I was able to find and download that's actually pretty strong. It was the world Shogi, well, it was the Shogi computer champion back in 2017. It was defeated in 2018, and then Alpha Zero came along and defeated Elmo as well. So it's no longer the latest and greatest, but it's quite a good Shogi engine, and it's a good starting point. I may later download one of these Alpha Zero type of Shogi engines and try and compare the two, but that's that would be another video and another project. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to download Shogidokoro and get it running, and how to use it inside, or use a Shogi engine with it. And I put detailed instructions in the description of this video. So if you're impatient and waiting for me to explain all of this step by step, you can just read through the instructions and try and do it on your own. It wasn't too hard. There are a couple tricky bits, so you might find it useful to follow along. I guess I'll just say a few things about the GUI here. I was previously using a Shogi GUI called Shogi GUI, but I found that a little difficult to use. It did a few things wrong, and I wasn't sure how to set up a Shogi engine. It might just have been that I didn't find the right documentation. But anyway, when I found Shogidokoro and how to configure it, I just started using this, and so this is the one I'm sticking with for now. If you want to play a game in Shogidokoro, you can just click on Start New Game. Oh, by default, it comes up with this English language interface. And it has an option in settings to change it to Japanese. So if you're a native Japanese speaker, you can use that. But it will default to English, which is convenient for me. So we can set up a game between two human players. I'll call them both. Well, let's see. The one who goes first is me, and the other one is guest. And then you can just play a game. You can grab a piece and move it, and just very naturally. And it keeps track of the game's score over here, and then you have the option after the game is over. Okay, you can use I to interrupt the game at any point, and do other things. So if I wanted to save this to a file or save the position, there's all these options. So you can save games and reload them and stuff like that. You can also, once you've interrupted a game, you can analyze it and take a look at a position with the engine. So those are the kind of things you can do with Shogi GUI. It's pretty convenient. I'll talk more about this at the end of the video, but let's get to the part of how you obtain Shogidokoro here and how you get it up and running. So first of all, there's this website, Shogidokoro.starfree.jp. And it's all in Japanese, but if you use the Chrome web browser, you will get the option to translate into English, and that's what I used. If you don't have a Chrome web browser, maybe you know what function you can use to translate, but if you have Chrome, it happens pretty automatically. If you don't see that little pop-up on the browser, what you can do is you can right-click with the mouse. You get this pull-down menu, and there's a Translate to English option here. So you can select that, and you get that little pop-up box again. I could have done that immediately. I just wanted to show you that trick. And then it's a lot easier to navigate this website if you can read the English. Although sometimes you can figure out what's going on by the placement of the links and stuff. But anyway, picture of the user interface, some discussion of why you should have a user interface separate from the chess engine. And then this link down here, there's also how to use it, but this link down here, download, this will take you to the download page. Once again, this was in Japanese, but it just got automatically translated into English. One thing I wanted to point out about this automatic translation is that it uses Shogisho as the translation of Shogidokoro. So I assume what's going on is that Shogidokoro is written in kanji, and Shogidokoro, that's the intended translation of the kanji characters, and Shogisho is an an alternate way of reading the same kanji. That happens a lot in Japanese. So it's just a mistake by the translator, by the automatic translator program. So Shogisho, you can just think of that as another name for Shogidokoro, but the author always calls it Shogidokoro when he has to translate it into English like that. Or I guess that's Romaji. Anyway, let's see. So we went to the website, used Google Translate to see the page. I'm looking at my notes here. Then you click on download. Yeah, then finally on this page, just where it says download Shogisho, that's what you want to download. And you can just drop that into any download directory that you have. And it's a zip file that you will then extract. So let's bring up the extracted version. So I created a directory called Shogi on my C directory, and I extracted all the files here, and it created a directory called Shogidokoro. Actually, it creates two links, so I got rid of one of them, so I only have one depth of directories to navigate through. And inside Shogidokoro, we have the program, Shogidokoro.exe, is right here. And to run it, you just click on it and it runs. So it's already set up and ready to go. And the nice thing about it is it comes up in English by default. There is a preferences, there is a preferences option under the view pull down here. And one of the preferences you have is your language, whether it's English or Japanese. So anyway, if you would prefer a native or a Japanese version, you have that available, but it defaults to English. And if you ever find yourself inside the Japanese version, you can use the view menu to get back to the English version. Just wanted to point that out. Oh, another thing while I'm looking at the view is there's different characters that you can use. So the default is kanji 1. It has the full 2-character name of the pieces, so you can see them there. But I selected the kanji 3 option. This is using this style that also 81 Dojo uses, where it's just one kanji character. It's an abbreviation or a shortened form of the piece name, but it's a little easier to recognize for me. So that's what I use. Anyway, yeah, you just unzip those files and click on it and it runs. The other trick that is handy at this point is if you want to create a shortcut on your desktop so you don't have to navigate to this file all the time, what you can do is you can right-click. Yeah, you select this file and then you right-click on it and you select Create Shortcut, and it'll create a shortcut for you, and then you just copy that to your desktop. Get rid of this, so anytime you want to run Shogidokoro, just double-click on that, and it's up and running. So I already have a shortcut on my desktop off to the side there where you can't see it. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So that is step 1. Step 2 is I'm going to talk about how configuring. Shogidokoro comes with a built-in engine, but it's not configured to start with. So the first step, if you want to start looking at your programs with an engine, or you want to start playing around with a Shogi engine, is to configure that. So you go to the Engine Manager option from the Game menu. So Game, and the last option is this Engine Manager at the bottom. And you can see that I've already configured 2 engines here. Let's delete this one so we can see the process from the start. So you go to the Engine Manager and you click Add, and you say, what engine should I add? And then on drive C, I put a directory called Shogi, and in Shogidokoro, under Shogi, that's where I installed Shogidokoro, and under Engine, that's where Lesserkai is found. And you just select that executable once again, and that is the Lesserkai engine, and it puts up this notice saying that it has registered that engine, and it shows up on the list all of a sudden. And you can configure it if you want to, but it actually just ran fine. It doesn't have too many options. If you have a opening book, it'll look for a book called public.bin. Let's see, is that there? It's set up to use the book. see if we get an error message when we turn it on. Okay, so let's start a game where the first player, Sente is the who goes first, and Gote is who goes second. It's sometimes called black and white in other places. Anyway, for Sente we will have Lesserkai. This is similar, actually, if you know the language of Go, Sente and Gote refer to who has the initiative, and it can vary back and forth. But in Shogi, Sente refers to the player who moves first, and Gote to the player who moves second, and it's fixed. They don't switch back and forth. Anyway, so Sente here I set to be the chess engine. Gote I set to be a human named Guest, and I clicked on OK, and it's going to start running. Yeah, I didn't get any error messages, so I guess it found the book, and so now I can play a game against the engine. Here, let's see. Let's protect my bishop, and then push this pawn forward, and take his bishop. Yeah, so you can play all of these moves. I just wanted to check something here. Let's bring up the file browser. So inside Shogidokoro, in the engine directory, yeah, there's Lesserkai, that's the application, and there's public.bin, that's the opening book. So it does come with its own opening book. So that is fine. So let's go on to step 3. Step 3 is to download the Elmo engine. So Elmo is a much stronger engine. It was actually the Shogi Computer Champion in 2017. So of all the computer engines, it was defeated. It lost out in 2018, so it's no longer the strongest. And also the Alpha Zero came along, and it was able to defeat Elmo as well. So the latest neural net technology seems to be the strongest, but Elmo seems quite strong enough for me, and it's a familiar type of engine. So it's a Stockfish style engine where it does a search, and has an evaluation function, has a opening book, so the usual stuff. And so I thought I would just be familiar with it, and then if I'm feeling adventurous one of these days, I'll download the neural net style Shogi engine and have them face off against each other. So anyway, to get to Elmo, you go to this page, and the link to it will be in the description. If you can read it off the video there, it's quite a long name, but that's the name of the page right there. Once again, this is something that actually I think this was mostly in English. It's partially in English and partially in Japanese, and you can actually translate the remaining sections into English to see what the links are saying there. So on this page, there's a couple of things. This part gets a little more complicated. You have to do this in pieces. So Elmo itself apparently is just the name of the evaluation function, and Yane Ura O is the search engine. So it's actually they're installed separately, and then you run them together. So Yane Ura O does the search over the tree of moves, probably using alpha beta type search, and then Elmo does the evaluation at the nodes, and it also comes with an opening book. So anyway, stage 1 is to click on the Elmo link right here, and it takes you to this page, and this page contains elmo.shogi.zip, and you need to download this file, which the link to download is over here. This, if you're familiar with Google Docs or Google Files, I think this is a Google Directory of some kind. Anyway, you have to click on the download link to download it. It took me a while to figure this out. I was trying to click on all these things, and well, if you click on elmo.shogi, I think it'll let you go inside. But what you want to do is you want to download the whole zip file, and then once again you want to unzip it on your machine. So let's go to where I unzipped it, and once again I unzipped it into the Shogi directory. So it created a directory called elmo.shogi, and once again it created 2 levels of directories, so I deleted one of those levels. So let's look at what's in elmo.shogi. So it comes, you copy Yaneura O here in a later step. What you'll get when you first download this and unpack it is you'll get the book. So inside that directory, there's different opening books in different formats because it actually supports different chess engines. And then in the eval directory, you get these bin files that are actually doing the evaluation. So that is Elmo. It doesn't run by itself. Now your next step is to download Yaneura O. So let's go back to that web page. So we've downloaded Elmo and we've unpacked it. Now we go to Yaneura O. And yeah, that's the mistake I keep making. You don't click on there. What you do is you go to the next link where this is how you can download Yaneura O, the binary for Windows. Click on this link. And this, once again, is a zip file, and that just lets you directly download that zip, and then you extract all the files, once again, into that Shogi directory. And once you've done that, so let's go and look at that Shogi directory again. It created this Yaneura O 2018 V483 all. And you'll see what all means when you look at that directory. There's all these different variations of Yaneura O. So you have to figure out which one is the right one for you. So let's see, which one did I end up picking? I picked the one that said KPPT in all uppercase and AVX. So I picked this one, KPPT. Well, I think I moved it here, so it's no longer here, but it was in this list, KPPT .avx. Now, or underscore AVX. What you have to know is what kind of CPU you have. So AVX is a streaming or a processor extension that Intel invented, an instruction settings extension that Intel invented and put out with the Skylake processors about 4 or 5 years ago. So if you have a modern CPU, then the AVX is the one you will want, this one, KPPT underscore AVX2. But if you don't have a modern CPU, if it's more than a couple of years old and you're not sure if it's a modern one, what you can use is you can use the this one, KPPT, all uppercase, and then SSE2. So SSE is another instruction set extension, but it's an older one. And they said it makes about a 10% difference. So this will run about 10% slower than the AVX version, but it should run fine. It's said to avoid the ones that say learn and tournament. And SSE, I guess these are different variations, but SSE2, if you want to go for the simplest one, that's the one to take. And then KPPT refers to the type of search algorithm that it's using, I believe, and this is the one that's compatible with Elmo, or at least that's what I gathered from reading the translated Elmo page. So I took that file, Yaneura O 2018 KPPT underscore AVX.exe, that's an executable, and copied it into the Elmo directory. And this is the instructions. This is how you configure it, because it always looks for the opening book and the evaluation engines relative to its current position. So, so you copy it into this directory. Let's see, we are on to step 4 here. Yeah, and so the next step is to choose an opening book. So directly in eval here, you will see these bin files that do the evaluation. And in the book directory, it expects to find an opening book with the name standard book. And to start with, what you have are 3 directories which have different opening books in them. And the one called Yaneura format has standard.book. So you copy this file up to the book directory, and then you're set up to run. Okay, and now you do the configuration step. So we're still we're still configuring Yane-Uda-O. So we continue the configuration step rather. So here we are in the Elmo directory where we just copied Yane-Uda-O, and it's an executable. You need to run that executable, and you can just double click on it after you've put it in the right place and you've moved the opening book. I don't know if you really need the opening book to run the test, but then what you do is you run that program and it just pops up a blank window and it waits for you to enter some commands. And the commands you enter, let's bring up my notes here. Hold on just a second. These are the commands you enter, and right here. This, by the way, is the file that I'm including in the description of this video, so you will have all this information. So you need to set the option for the evaluation directory. So you're telling it the name of the evaluation directory is eval, which if you look, that was the name of the directory holding the those evaluation functions. And then you run the program by saying bench. And this goes pretty quickly. It just runs 3 positions, so we can just let it run. And when it's done, then you're through with the evaluation. So if this runs successfully, just runs, says total time, and you're done. It's ready to go. You can kill that window, and then we go back to Shogi. We go back to Shogidokoro and run that. And now we can configure that. So the game, go to the game menu once again, go to the engine manager here. Let's delete the previous version and we will add the new version. So you have to remember where you put it. So I put it in the Shogi directory, in the elmo.shogi, and it's this. So you point to this search engine, Yane-Uda-O, and you've already given it the information about where its evaluation functions and book are, and plus it's all relative to that directory. Anyway, select that, and now it's registered that, so it's ready to run. And now there is a configuration tab. You can think about playing around with this, although it's complicated. But you can see things here, like the book file is named standardbook.db, and that's and the book directory is called book. That's where we put the book, and that's the name of it. So that's already been taken care of at this point. So you don't really need to change anything here unless you're an expert and you know what this stuff means. So anyway, say OK or cancel, and just close that. And now you've got Yane-Uda-O configured to run. Let's see. Yeah, okay, and so that's it for my notes. So that's where the description leaves off. So let's see what we can do here. One thing we can do is we can start a new game, and we can have Lesserkai play against Yane-Uda-O, or Elmo. Let's call it Elmo for short. And just let them go to it. I forget if I messed. I think I set this to a fast time control. You have options to set the time control to be quick. Oh, yeah, I set it to be a minute plus 5 seconds of Byoyomi. So it looks like it's going to think, here, let's interrupt this. You get tired of waiting for it. But yeah, so when you start the new game, you have the option available time. Oh, let's put it down to 0 minutes. So it has nothing but the Byoyomi, and we'll put this down to 3 seconds. So it's going to move every 3 seconds. And let's start a new game. So we'll see him crank out some moves pretty quickly here. And so probably when it moves instantly, it's still in its opening book there. But you can see it going through the evaluations down here. So that's one thing you can do, is you can just have the engines play each other at whatever speed you like and watch their moves and see if you can figure out what's going on. Okay, let's interrupt this. Another thing you can do is you can read in your own games. So I played a game, and this the screen comes up blank. There are different formats for the games. I created this game as a copy of the game that I played in my first video that I did. So, and when I saved it, it saved it in PSN format. So we have to look at PSN format and go to this directory, the game that I created for YouTube. Yeah, there it is, game1.psn. So we can open that. And this is the game I played where, let's see, my opponent blundered a silver here. And then I got in trouble a little bit shortly after that. So I just wanted to give an example of what you can do. You can step through the game, get to that critical point where, let's see here, yeah, I take his silver. He just gave me that piece, but he pushed this pawn forward. And now I drop my rook back to defend this pawn, but that wasn't the best move there. And in fact, now we can use this analyze function right here and ask Yanai what it would play in this position. And I'm setting it to think for 5 seconds here. We can turn that down to make it a little faster. So it'll very, very quickly decide to play bishop takes. And then it thinks that Gote here should play knight takes. And then, yeah, I think we're getting to the point. This is what I didn't think of. I have a silver here. So the silver can be dropped to the square 3h to defend the pawn. What I did instead of that is I took the rook and moved it back to defend the pawn. See, my pawn was under attack by his rook, which was lined up behind the pawn. He was going to take, and if I took back, his rook would take that. But now that I have both a silver and a gold defending the pawn, then I'm in pretty good shape here. So anyway, should be a playable game at this point. It turns out giving up his silver was not a huge blunder. He was still in okay shape at this point, oddly enough. But anyway, let's go. Let's interrupt this, or let's just stop that. Let's quit that and start another version. I had other games that I played earlier that I wanted to show you. Yeah, the file menu load game. So that was, I have 2 different directories. So that game for YouTube was in this directory. The other, my games directory has games that I played on 81 Dojo. And 81 Dojo stores these files in the KIF format. So you have to select KIF format. But once you do, then you can load these files and go through them as well. And one thing you can do when you have the file here is you can evaluate the whole game. So instead of just analyze, which is just starting the engine running and you can see its output, you can select analyze game. And this will go through the whole game from the starting position as much time as you want to per move. And you can just let it run and it will build this graph. You can see it's going to go through the game, and we'll see the results in a little bit. I'm going to stop the recording and then I'll start up the recording again once it's finished. Okay, we're finished evaluating the game now. Elmo's finished evaluating the game now, and you can see the results in this graph in the upper right. I'm Sente, meaning I played first. Andro was Gote, played second. A positive score indicates an advantage for Sente. So I seem to have done okay in the early part of the game, building up a slight edge. And then there was this huge blunder here where suddenly Gote is winning, but he missed his opportunity. And then I'm winning big after that. You can see I blunder and give away the advantage here to where it's almost back to even. And then at the end, he just resigned. So this is one of the very few games that I actually won. And I wanted to just go to this point and talk about how you can, let's see, you can use the arrow keys, the up and down arrow keys to go through the moves, and you can see what happened. You can see what the blunder is. So on this move, move 38, he moved his bishop from 3A to 4B. So the bishop went here. And notice that it's looking at the 1E square. And my very next move is I moved my silver forward. Sorry, I went backwards. My very next move is I moved my silver forward to the 1E square so he could just take it. So that was my blunder, and that's where it dropped. So I just wanted to show you in terms of the evaluation. So this is my move, silver 1F to 1E. That's the move I made. The score here, that is the score before I moved, and the score after I moved is down here. So it's the score before the next move. So that's one thing that was confusing me about this. I just wanted to point that out. The score here is the score before the move, and if you want to know what the score was after the move, you have to look to the next line. So my blunder resulted in this sudden drop from plus 1,000 to minus 2,000. By the way, in this graph, you can set the range to be whatever you like. If you're making small mistakes and you want to emphasize or see the differences in this range here, where they're just up and down a few hundred points, then you may want to scale this graph up. But by default, it went from minus 1,000 to plus 1,000, and most of the time it was just off. It was just off the charts here, so I had to scale it to 2,000 plus 2,000 to minus 2,000 is what I set the scale to for my own purposes here. Anyway, and then what the computer shows you here is it shows you the principal variation. I think that means that's the move the computer would play. So actually it's interesting. It would, let's back up. It would move the silver, but it wouldn't move it to 1E. It would move it from 1F to 2E. So it would move the silver to this square. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out how to make a variation here. I guess I could interrupt it maybe. Yeah, I haven't figured out how to make variations yet. And I haven't figured out how to get to alternate, how to show all other variations. So I was able to use my Fritz GUI and Stockfish to have it display the top 5 choices of the chess engine. Here we only get the top choice of the Shogi engine, but it will, you can have it evaluate your whole game and point out those blunders, and you can go through it. And I think that's really helpful. So let's see, I think I've covered most of what I wanted to in this video. Let's just briefly run over all the options. You can load a game, you can play a game and then save it later. I don't know about these loading game analysis functions. You can do copy and paste. You can copy the board image as well as the position. Yeah, maybe I should turn on start position editing. See what that does. Yeah, that would let me back up. So that would let me edit the position here, right? Okay. Yeah, so it's not letting me enter a variation. So it just lets me set up a position that way, edit position. You can start a new game, you can analyze a game. And when you start a game, you have all those options. So you can have human versus human, human versus computer, or computer versus computer. And then there are various view options and preferences. So, and that's about it, version information. So 4.6.0. Anyway, I think, I'm sorry, let me get that correct. Version information, this is 4.6.1. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this about the Shogidokoro and the Elmo engine, and have some fun with it yourselves. See you later. Bye.